Hi everybody, this is Erin, and this is the first episode of my video blog about what happened on my way to India. And I'm going to start with a short story of something that happened in San Francisco a few months before we left the country. We were living in San Francisco, my husband and I was about 8 months pregnant. We were living in an old Victorian, really great old place on 14th and Castro Street, not far from Haight-Ashbury. 1969. And we were all sitting down to dinner one night. We had about 10 people there, and this guy walks in, this young black man, and he has a gun, looks like a toy rifle at his side, and he says, "Don't anybody move, this is a holdup." We didn't really believe him. We thought, oh, this is a joke. And this guy had just been to our house a few days before that. He'd knocked on the door with another guy and said, "I used to live here, and I'd like to see what you've done with the place. Can I come in?" So we said, "Sure, come on in." Well, 3 days later, he shows up at our door with this gun. And we also knew that a group of Black Panthers had lived there before we moved in, and he was part of that group. So he, just after he came in, a group, about 6 other guys came in as well. All looking much meaner and older and tougher than this guy, and they had handguns, and they started just taking everything they could find. One guy pulled up a stool and sat in the middle of the room with the rifle across his lap, guarding us while the other people took stuff. And he said, "What I'd like to do is put a bomb here and watch your faces while it ticked." So we knew he was pretty serious about how he felt about what was happening. So my husband kept saying the whole time they were there, "You don't have to do this. You're welcome in our home. There's food in the fridge. Our doors are always open. Let's sit down and talk." They didn't seem to be listening. They kept taking stuff. My husband had a vest that he'd been working on doing this applique work in his lap, and he was almost done with it. He'd been working on it for years. And one of the guys took the vest out of his lap, and Bob said, "Please don't take my vest. It's got sentimental value. It has no monetary value. Take anything else, but don't take my vest." Well, he took the vest. Another funny part of the story is they had no car in which to put all this, their take. So they put it in our car and made Bob drive them to their place, which was only a few blocks away. So he eventually gets back, and we're all sitting there going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? This is a group of pretty rough, tough guys. We don't know if we should call the police. If we call, will there be retaliation? They know where we live. I thought we could put bars on the windows and lock the doors. Just weren't sure. So we did end up locking the doors. And a few days later, there's a knock at the door. It's nighttime. And the way the house was set up, there's a hallway, long hallway, that you can look down, and there's a window in the door, and I could see that it was one of the guys, the young guy, standing at the door that had been at our house a few nights before. So I go, "Bob, they're back." So Bob comes and he walks down, opens up the front door. The guy is standing there. He's got the rifle, and he hands Bob the rifle, and he has his vest in the other hand, and he hands him the vest. And Bob invites him in. Comes in, they sit down and talk, and I don't know, after a couple of hours I went to bed, and they talked almost all night long. I could hear them playing the Beatles' White Album over and over and over again all night. And what he was saying, what I heard was he said that he had been listening to everything Bob had been saying while he was there, but he was the leader of the gang, and at that time, and he couldn't back down in front of all his friends and the other guys, but he did want to sit down and talk. So it turned out that he was 16 years old. He had never been educated. He'd been in and out of reform school. He'd been orphaned. He didn't know how to read or write. He ended up actually living with us for 3 months, and one of the guys that lived with us started teaching him how to read and how to write. And we didn't get our stuff back, but Bob got his vest back.